Hello, Tara. Hi. I'm so happy to welcome you in my channel and also in your channel probably in the future. But yeah, I'm so happy to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. It's a beautiful morning.
Yeah, I see like the weather, the trees behind you, and I'm like, you have my library and walls. Just like- but I hope like people, our listeners will be able kind of to shift from inside out. So
Well,
um,
be nice. We just take your library and then we put it in the forest, and then we have a library forest.
yeah, I don't know if my books will hold, but if there is no rain, that's fine, I guess.
There we go.
So yeah, it has been a long time we didn't have a chat together about our practice, where we have been, for
Mhm.
the last years. And we both are YouTubers, but also we are channelers, or we have schools and we teach and we offer sessions and so on. But our spiritual practice and our life has progressed. So
Mhm.
we want today to kind of approach that and see how we evolved. Um,
Okay.
how has it been for you for the last years?
Whew. Well, I would say that there's been a lot of growing and healing and reevaluating how I do things and how I approach my spirituality, how I approach my higher self. Um, because I think I was very stuck in, well, I lived in the city and, and I had all of the city things. You have a job that you go to, and, we got to think about retirement and, paying mortgages and car payments and, the 3D. And I would kind of stick in my spirituality if it's like if I have time, I will do this. And when I have time at the end of the night, I'll try to squeeze in like my 15, 20 minutes of meditation. And I started, as some of my listeners and your listeners maybe know, um, I just started getting all of these downloads of like, this is not for you anymore. Like, we need to get out of this. But this was all I knew was, how to make money in the world and how to keep a roof over my head. And but just the voice kept getting louder and louder, and I was becoming more and more discontent with like my job and just like what I was doing. I loved the students that I taught, but it's how we were supposed to teach them. And it seemed like it was draining the creativity, the life, the spirit from them. And that's not what I wanted, to do with kids or with people in general. Here I was with this spiritual business on the side where I'm trying to teach people to break out of the mold and connect to their heart space and their higher self. But instead, I was allowing myself to remain trapped. I wasn't practicing what I preached, basically. And so at one point the voice, I would say, got so loud that I had to make big changes. It was like, go big or go home. Like, this is it. So I made the big changes of like changing over, leaving a long-term relationship, leaving my two kittens behind, leaving my home and my family basically, and going out to where my heart wanted to go, which was, Arizona. And from there, I just kind of had to start following my intuition more than I had so in the past, where it's like really having the trust and really having the faith. And with that comes up all of the programming and all of the shadows, all of the naysaying parts of us that say, well, it's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. And it's just been working out better and better and better each time. The more I've listened and the more healing that we've done up here. And I would say that I can't wait to see where this adventure takes us. But in this chapter, I am happy and content. And I'm so excited and happy that I made all of those scary decisions
Yeah,
a while back.
yeah, they seem scary for many, because um, changing the country or changing the town or the city is already a big change, but
Mhm.
leaving everything behind, which all the things that you used to kind of lay down on,
Mhm.
or hold onto, so that for your own security, sometimes we try to hold on, to some relations, or the the house, or
Yeah.
the belongings, or anything that can secure us. And to
Mhm.
leave that is really kind of like abandonment. It's like just like cutting completely with that side, and being in the void. So you have been into the void, right? And
Yeah.
how,
I would say many times now.
yeah. So and relying on the intuition, not only for, okay, I should do this small decision, but the big decisions. I know a bit
Mhm.
about that because I've been traveling for the last year only, by intuition. And it's like I buy one ticket and I go, and I don't know, where to go next, just knowing
Mhm.
that I'm going there, and then we will see. But every time I knew that I will be back home at some point. But for you, it's
Exactly.
kind of like there is no back, there is no going back. So yeah, how did you manage that feeling of insecurity that you might have felt, or void?
Well, I'm not gonna lie, there was a lot of crying. There was a lot of, sometimes that I just get swirling into my ego space, and it was just like, "What are you doing?" Like, basically, your whole foundation, like, for my whole entire life is I'm a girl from San Diego, and that's where my family lives. They've never really left San Diego. I mean, part of my family has never really left there. Everybody is pretty much like a homebody. Like, we always just stay here, and if there's problems, I can go call my dad, or I can call an uncle, and I'll go to them or something. But um I don't know, it was just that the voice of my fear wasn't as loud as my intuition had been nagging me for probably a decade, and I didn't listen to it. And every year it just got louder and louder, which made it so hard to like focus on what I was doing. But yeah, being in that void, it was I would say super scary at times, because sometimes the logic comes up and you're like, oh my gosh, what did you just do? Like, what if this doesn't work out? And then you're not going to have any money. And I don't know why the default is you're going to be homeless on the streets. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's just the default programming. It's like it's not going to work out. You're going to be homeless on the streets. And then I was like thinking, well, even if I was homeless on the streets, I wouldn't be dead. So okay, so I guess it's fine. But yeah, we're
Yeah,
definitely not homeless on the streets. We are at home in the forest now.
yeah,
So I would say, the feelings now, they're not. I don't really have them come up anymore. And now it's been over 2 years now, and so I don't really feel that. Oh, you should go back to this lifestyle. Although every now and then I ponder, I'm like, what would I be doing right now if this was like 3 years ago? And I'd say, "Oh, I'd be doing this, or I'd be grading papers, or I'd be worrying about taxes, or, things like this." And it's just like,
yeah.
just it's I'm like, "Wow, it's so foreign and so far away now." Like, if it would happen 20 years ago, and it's like I could never in a million, even if I tried, I couldn't go back.
Yeah. There is something interesting when you change your life. Uh, that we have an image. In our
Mhm.
spiritual field. Like we have this image, kind of like, we would go to a nice place and everything would be okay. From
Right.
example, for me, I moved to Portugal, and it was nice at the beginning, but then I started seeing the positive and the negative side, and it's like
Mhm.
it's away from the dream that we might like build or come to us. So there's like some lucidity comes also with this. So
Yeah.
how was for you to kind of face the reality of things? We know that it's not always like pinky and beautiful, but
Yeah.
there are difficult times too.
So, I would say that, like, when I was first coming out here to Arizona, I had, um no real plan. I knew I had to get an apartment first because, I didn't really know what to do next. I thought, "Oh, maybe we'll get a house afterwards," because that's still the programming. It's like, "Oh, I've moved. I need to move into the suburbs, into a house that needs to be close to the dentist and the doctor and the mall and, all of the things." And it seemed like no matter what my programming was, my higher self was like, okay, she's already made the decision. So we're just going to guide her this way, and you're not going to get the things that you think you need. Um, and so when we're looking at houses and everything, it was just, I don't know, nothing really spoke to us. And I was like, I want something more like more land. Like I want to be on a house with more land. So that was like the first thing. And it seemed like my intuition was like, yeah, go that direction. And then we start looking at like homes, like manufactured homes, like maybe putting that on a piece of land. And even that was like falling through because it was like, well, I don't have the stability of my old job anymore to be able to pay a mortgage. And so I was like, oh no, like my intuition was wrong. It's not going to work out. And then my intuition's like, no, get the land and we'll help you out. Just follow, stop trying to plan everything. Cause I wanted to plan it all to the detail. Like it's all going to have this and it's going to have a garage and it's going to have, and it's like, no, if you want to like live a spiritual life, you truly want to grow, like you want to ascend, you want to do all these things. You don't ascend by becoming as 3D as possible. Like that keeps you in the 3D. Is the home, that's a 3D thing, and I was like thinking about there literally were natives that lived on this land. I mean, I'm actually next to one of their burial grounds, like right here. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. They didn't have like homes, they had hogans here. They took care of themselves here. I'm literally on a place where people could sustain themselves here. And I was like, so I don't need those things. And then out of nowhere, like James's dad is like, oh, maybe I'll get you an RV to get you guys started. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's the home. And it didn't look like what my brain was like, thinking like, oh, this big, beautiful house. Instead, we have a very beautiful RV, which is our home now. And we also want to maybe build a hogan at some point, to keep in tune with our native spirits here. But yeah, we started to really look at things like what is a home? My Jeep doesn't have a garage, but I keep a string of lights around it. It's like a little garage, I guess. There's a little light rectangle where I park my Jeep. Um, and like yeah, we have the well came in and everything came in at once, by the way. Once I like gave up and I was like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. All of a sudden it was like, okay, we can do your well now. And I was like, okay. And then it was like, oh, and your RV is getting delivered today. Oh, and we can they were finishing up the septic. Oh, and by the way, we're getting your cabin ready for, to have all our business stuff. Everything was happening at once and it was overwhelming. And I haven't had stuff like manifest that quickly before. And now it just like manifestation is off the hook here. Like whenever we need anything, it just happens. And I don't consider myself in the 3D sense extremely wealthy, but I will say that the number in my bank account doesn't change. Like it's whatever you need is always just there and the numbers just don't change. And it's like you need to go grocery shopping. All you need is right there. You don't need all these big numbers and everything. It's like all you need is there. You want to do something for the Jeep. It's there for you. And it's like, okay, this
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah, I so much relate to what you say. It so much speaks to me because I'm living something similar in that sense of when you need something, it comes. And I'm not into, okay, think too big or think too far. It's really like even on the time scroll, I have to think like
Mhm.
right now, maybe just few months up for, but nothing like 2 4 years.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I'm more present, and I feel that within you
Mhm.
too. It's like you are more in here, in the now. That the now we speak about. um but
Mhm.
at the same time you are not alone. So for me, I'm like lucky. I have like some friends, maybe just like into that kind of mood. But for you it was kind of really change also of relationship. So how was it to
Mhm.
collaborate and co-create also in that sense, for you?
So, I have basically just James with me, on this journey. But, I have some of my friends of obviously you being one of my friends and, my friend Steph and, I have a buddy of mine that lives out here in Arizona with all of my godsons, all 4 of them. And I've known him since 7th grade. So for him, he had to have a talk with me. He was like, "Are you okay? Like, you're," he says, "It's like," he says, "I'm not concerned about like your like mental health or anything. It's just you're doing something that would be terrifying to me." And he says, and it's like, I've known you since you were like 13. So to see you change in this way and then go into a huge change, he's all like, I really like the confidence that you have now. He goes, like, when you speak to me with less like sadness of the past. Like he says, like we usually bonded over like crappy childhoods. And he goes, and it seems like that's not really a part of how you speak anymore. It's not like I am a crappy childhood. Let me talk about it. He says,
Mhm.
now it's like you're talking about talking to the animals and, talking to spirits. And he says, you really help my sons and you help me and my wife. And he's like, this is whatever this change is that I don't quite understand. Like, keep going, and so I know I have his support and their family, and but really it does feel um lonely at times, I guess, because although my friends, you guys understand portions of it, I know that there's a lot I have to do by myself. Like you guys can't do my shadow work for me. You guys can't be there when a trigger comes up out of nowhere and I'm like, and nobody can do anything for me. And that's actually one of my shadows, is
Mhm.
always allowing other people to do things for me instead of doing for myself because of low self-esteem and low self-confidence and the crappy aforementioned childhood I was talking about. But it's now coming to the realization that there's nobody coming to save me except me, and I've always been here for myself. It's just I never relied on myself before. And so luckily, yes, I do have James to open up to and speak to, and he's also very good at seeing my shadows and my triggers and pointing out where I need my healing. But ultimately, even he can't do it for me. I still have to do it for myself. So yeah, I would say in that I feel sometimes alone, but not alone. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain where
Yeah.
I'm doing it myself and it feels very lonely, but then I know that like my friends in the best meaning way possible, they have my back. They may
Yeah.
not know how they have my back, but they do. And I know James does, and I know that not just the physical people here, but the non-physical energies around here. It's like, dude, literally the universe has your back, not just the word the universe, but literally everyone, collective consciousness has your back. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I said I probably shouldn't question anything anymore. I mean, all this magic has happened. None of it makes logical sense. I was like, psh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
You are talking about something so interesting, which is surrendering, letting
Mhm.
ourselves be, and also letting things come to us. And it's like one of the sentences that come to my mind is like, the universe is at my service because I am at the service of the universe. So it's kind
Mhm.
of like, the circle gets going, and there's nothing stuck. We keep moving. Um, when I was kind of like going through some inspirations for our meeting today, something about the burnout that we are living. I like I have so much work sometimes that I'm like I feel like really literally burnout, but that side of being burned. We are young, we are really young, but even on the spiritual field, we feel and will sense that burn out of the senses, of too much screens, too much computers, too much of everything. And you came to the like kind of like that reminds me of the Japanese side, like purifying and reducing and minimizing things. So how was it like also to kind of going from all is there and then nothing is here, regarding your senses, that feeling of like, all the senses are filled to the maximum.
Well, first I want to say it's interesting that you brought up Japanese because um uh James had bought me a katana, like a practice katana sword.
Yes,
And
yes.
so yeah, I've been playing around with it and then I decided to get a real one, like a sharp one. Not because I want to be like crazy weapons person, but but because I like that it brings me to the present because my brain is always boop, boop, off in the ethers. But yeah, but it's simplicity, like you were saying, and everything about our life is much more simple now. And I noticed that when I try to go back to old habits, like just being on my phone all the time, and like, ooh, I gotta post this or I gotta post this. And sometimes my ego will say, oh, well, you have to put all this online. Otherwise, people don't know what you do, and then you won't make money, and then you're going to be homeless on the streets. you know, and then but now my physical body lets me know when I'm doing too much. Like my eyes go blurry as if I'm losing my eyesight. Like for a whole day my eyes will be so blurry from looking at my screen the day before or something. And so I'm like, I have to stop even if I want to really get on there and do something and through the blurriness. And I'm like, no, I understand. I was like, I don't need to do that. And my higher self was like, when we talk about energetic alignment, people energetically find you. It's not because they saw your post
Yeah,
on social
yeah.
media. They said people who are meant to find you will find you regardless of what 3D tactics you think you have up your sleeve. You can have the best I don't know, advertising campaign. They said, but it's the people who are energetically aligned are coming to you now, and it's not just the random people. They said people who when they have their questions, it's pieces of me in every single person. It's like pieces of my own healing. I'm like, wow, this person's going through that. Yeah, that's something I have to work on too. And so it's like really meant to be all of these people. And so just being here without the distractions of, like, I can't be on the computer because I have to use my hotspot, which I have limited, here. So I can't be on the computer all day. It has to be very focused and what I'm gonna do. I can't be on the phone too much because it only really works in one spot up here. So it's like I'm forced to be here, and just looking at um I don't know, like even stuff here that needs repair, let's say, before I would push that off onto somebody else, like, you go do it. I can't do it. I have to learn how to do it myself, which is the be present. I would say my intuition is much more open,
Yeah.
but now I have to be more cognizant of what I'm soaking in because now I'm soaking in everything because I'm so open.
Mhm.
So I have to really practice my grounding now. So grounding and shielding over and over again. um, but yeah, and it seems like whatever's going on in the world is so far away now. It's like a TV show. Somebody said, "Oh, did you hear about the?" Somebody said the Super Bowl is happening. I was like, "The Super Bowl?" I was like, "Oh, football." I was like, "That's happening right now?" They're like, "Yeah, it's February. Super Bowl's today." I'm like, "Oh, cool." I don't know what's going on, or the even yeah. It's just, I like it like that though. I like that I'm not in the distraction dramas.
Yeah.
I can be more focused on the energy that the world is going through instead of
Mm.
the little sound bites that the world is going through. And I
Yeah.
think that's better.
That's beautifully put also to kind of get in physical and material, because I'm sure, in your work, you were a teacher before and you had your
Mhm,
spiritual work, but it's a lot of mind working and
mhm,
less body working. And I feel also that shift of going back to the physical. It's funny because
mhm,
I have also, I practice martial arts and I love the
mhm,
and like the budo and practicing with martial arts and martial weapons because it
mhm,
centers. But at the same time, something physical is kind of all what we have learned or gathered or brought back
mhm,
from our different ancestry memories and if cosmic memories. Now we have like kind of to put it into the ground and to practice it, and we need time to do that. That's why I feel anyway for myself, I feel like I need
mhm,
time to schedule that and put it in my in my calendar, not just the mind and the computer work. Um, so it's really completely shift of focus, and I hope that will
Mhm.
make our bodies stronger too,
Well,
because y- yeah,
well, speaking of the bodies, which you were saying, I it just popped in that, I also had my very regimented workout routine, when back home. So it was like after work, you always work out for an hour. And on these days of the week, you do cardio. And on these days of the week, you do weightlifting. And I even studied physiology, for the body and everything. And I was very, I thought, attuned to the body. And then I came out here, and since I can't really go to a gym, and I know I could work out here, but it just seemed every time I tried, like I couldn't do it. Like I was trying so hard to do like a morning, okay, we wake up and we're gonna go for a run. And it's just like, nah, I don't want to, and not that I don't want to work out, but my workouts look different. It's just I guess you could say I'm just being a human being now
yeah,
instead of a robot on a treadmill. So if I want to go practice my katana, which is actually a good exercise, I can go do that. We want to go for a hike, we do that, but I don't categorize it as working out. I'm moving my body, I'm doing things that I guess you could consider like working out and moving my muscles, but I feel like my body is healthier and happier now than when it was taking vitamins and going to the gym every single day. And um, well, I'll probably talk to you later about our eating regimen because we've changed that too. So it's drastically reduced the physical food, and we've been working on eating source instead. And so my body is actually a lot healthier. Like I'm strong too. So it's like I'm like, this
yeah.
doesn't make sense logically. But
Well, let's talk about it. Well, I wanted also to approach the beauty aspect. We talked about the Japanese arts and the ikebana, and the flower arrangement and all these things, and
mhm,
the beauty, the enchantment. The beauty and enchantment. How is it doing? So we have
mhm.
these two topics that we can touch in.
Yeah, so I like that things are a lot more simple because before I used to like things busy, busy, busy. Like I need lots of happening. I got the cell phone and the television's on, and I have a deck of cards, and I'm thinking about a lesson plan at the same time, and my brain is so many places at once. And I thought that that's what I like, when actually it's also the cause of a lot of anxiety
Yeah,
because I'm not present in any one thing, which means that probably each one is never going to be as good as it could be because I'm spread so thin. So now it's like, what do we feel like doing today? There is no schedule, although I do fall back into schedules sometimes, which James is very good at breaking me from. He's why do you need to do the dishes right now? And I'm like thinking, and I don't really have a good reason other than that's how I was programmed to do things is right now. There's no inspector going to come and say, oh, you haven't done your dishes today, or you haven't made your bed early 8 a.m. So yeah, just having, I would say at first, my ego was stressing out because I had no stress. It
yes,
was like, it was
yes,
like I felt like I need to be doing something right now. Like I need to, like I should. Am I missing out on something? Am I forgetting something? I'm like I shouldn't be this lazy, quote unquote. And I've learned that just kind of working with things. It's not lazy. I'm just more perceptive now to things without being distracted. I can make clearer decisions. I have better understanding of why I'm doing things or where I'm going and why I'm going there instead of just do, and we'll figure it all out later. We'll figure out why I did that later, and it gets tabled forever and never gets,
yes,
looked at again. So yeah, I would say the simplicity is much better, and it's not just simplicity in terms of material items, but it's simplicity when it comes to my spiritual practice. It's simplicity with eating. It's simplicity with when I look at myself in the mirror. Um, and now my stress is much less.
yes.
Now I'm not stressing about no stress. So
Yeah, and also, that when I come back to that beauty and enchantment and the connection, the spiritual connection, because you are in nature, you are with the forest, you are,
Mhm,
and that makes you more open, that makes you like more perceptive of the magic of the universe, what we call magic, or what is the real word, I would say.
mhm,
So you saw already an increase of your capacities and your
mhm,
ability to channel, and your physical body. That's really interesting to notice as a fruit, or like a result of your evolution. For myself,
mhm,
I feel the same thing. Even if I'm not really living, like I live in, next to nature, my goal is to live in nature. So like inside of it. Yeah, but I'm really like, I'm 5 minutes walking from the forest, and the
mhm,
mountain. But I feel the strength when I came here. I felt my body becoming stronger, and I felt the desire also of being outside, even if my job, is online. Like I teach, and
mhm,
I like I prepare everything online. But there is, for me anyway, there is less and less the desire to stay in, and more
mhm,
desire to be out, and also out of, when you say out of the prison, the prisons we
mhm,
live in, but also the prisons of our minds. And you talked about food, we talked about relationships, we talked about our spiritual practice, and even our way of being, the
mhm.
marketing we can call, there's no more running after, there's just like a
Yeah.
presence and beingness. um,
Mhm,
Even with food, the way you eat, the way you, I mean, when you talked about less and source, I understood exactly what you mean, and that, being present in the food that is already there. So yeah,
mhm.
I'm feeling like it's really amazing evolution. And before I close, about, close our interview, um I cannot ask anymore the question where you see yourself going, but
Y-
more, how deep did you get into Tara? How deep did you get
mhm.
into yourself? Did you connect with all your aspects? Did you connect with the, we call it the avatar self, or the essence of who you are? And that we
Mhm.
can ask, okay, how deep did you go? Not how long did you? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say we've gone pretty deep, and the something I wanted to mention earlier was it the not last night, but the night before. I'm sitting in the chair, and I don't know, I'm just off in the ethers, just kind of contemplating things. And my higher self came in really strong. And it was reminding me of when I almost drowned when I was out surfing like many years ago. And it says, remember that feeling that you had when you were under the water and you thought, this is my last breath, and that's it. I'm going to be no more. Cause I remember I was struggling. I was, obviously I don't want to die. So, I'm trying to make it to the surface. And it was these really big waves that were too big for me. And and at some point, I remember I released and my body was just floating. And it was like all I could see was white around me. And I don't remember if I actually had my eyes open or if they weren't open. Um, and I just remember thinking, well, this is it. This is how I go. And I say, well, okay. And I was ready to go. And I just let go. And when I did, I popped up to the surface like magic. And I took a huge breath and I was able to swim in. And, obviously I didn't drown. But my higher self says, remember that moment where you were ready to die. You were really ready to go. They said, we're not asking you to die physically here. But they said, we need you to have that exact same surrender. They said, we know you've been surrendering. You've been saying, okay, I'm going with my intuition. I'm going with this. But they said, we need you to like die spiritually speaking. Like we want that ego gone. They said
Mhm.
it's sure it's helped you in your 3D world, but you don't want to operate so much in the 3D world anymore. So it was like it is time to die in the ocean again. And I
Yeah.
was like, whoa, and it like hit me like so hard. And all of a sudden I got the feelings of what that would feel like. Like, I don't know. It was like showing me what that would feel like. And it was like my my ego was terrified. I literally thought I was going to die in the chair. you
Yeah.
know, but it
Yeah.
was just showing me an example. It wasn't that anything was actually happening to me physically, but it was like, but see, this time we want you to not have the catalyst of the ocean. Before there was a catalyst, and it's and your logic brain says, I'm drowning. Now I surrender. They said this time there is no ocean, there is nothing wrong with you, nothing is going to happen to you, but we need that I'm ready to go. And they said, and your ego will let go. Your ego is terrified at the moment because it knows that its days are numbered. And so it's like, so that's the kind of deep, I guess I've been going into, is like, what is really tethering me here? I'm trying to think of all of my traumas, all of my programming, all the worries of how people perceive me, all of those things. And it is quite scary, I would say, to an ego, because it's like that's what we're told losing your mind is,
Mhm.
when you just, and then I'm thinking, yeah, but people have lost their minds. Some of them seem pretty happy because they don't care anymore. And
Yeah.
I was like, so I said, yeah, it's kind of bordering on that, where you have to let go no matter how much your ego is protesting. And so I've gotten to that space, which is a lot different and farther than I was years ago, so,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
every day is something new.
Yeah, that's beautiful and also alive. Like when we talk to you, we feel that life. You know that
Mhm.
that you know when I say like we talk to sometimes to people and they are dead, and but
Yeah.
when we talk to you there is life, and that's the thing that we need to follow, the life where life is manifesting for me, and how sometimes some people have different intuitions styles,
Mhm.
I would say. And for me, it's like it's my life, like where is my life getting a little bit enhanced, and where is my
Mhm.
curiosity just dying, no more curious about something, but curiosity
Mhm.
of my soul, not the curiosity of the mind, because it would be nice to try this and this and this, but at the same time, do I really feel curious about it in my heart, in my body, feeling like "Choo."
Yeah.
But for that, it's important to make the void. And maybe we can finish with this. Maybe one day you will invite some people there to see and witness what it is to live also that transformation, like out of the boxes, out of the prisons, the mind prison
Mhm.
that we live in.
Well, yeah, that's something that we do have planned for this area. That we would like to have a retreat here someday. Maybe it'll just start small, like one little teepee, one little hogan or something, for people to come and stay for a weekend. We're not sure. Could it be a week? Could it be a weekend? But we want lots of different types of activities for them. So first there could be the just getting reacquainted with nature, like let's go on a hike or let's go on a mountain bike ride, or, just get people out there. And then, some of the more 3D aspects, I can tell them about the various plants here, how they were used by the natives, how we could use them still, in here, and how we can align ourselves, start going more spiritual, align ourselves to the energy of the trees and the plants and the birds, and ask their permission or ask them, show me how to do this or that, and they'll be more than happy to show you. Go into helping people with meditation, helping people to reconnect to their higher self, and learn how to maybe cancel out some of the extraneous, the noise, especially if people live in cities and things.
Yeah.
um yeah, and just maybe we can teach them about like cooking some of the things here, or maybe if they're ready, like let's just eat some source and
Yes.
show you our way, but maybe you find a different way,
Yes.
so
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing about your evolution and how it has been on the physical aspect, also, not just on the mind and spiritual, but physical side. And I wish you a lot of success. And people who will find you
thank
with the links,
you.
I will just leave below. And looking forward to talking to you again, maybe on another topic.
Yes,
It was really
thank you.
great fun.
This
All
has
right.
been fabulous. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. So, bye then.
All right, bye.